No.
No!
Yeah.
No! Did you hear the best part, though? He said he's not the only penis man.
Florida man arrested for pulling gun on escort. She was touching everything in my house but my dick. Alrighty, guys. Welcome to our podcast, Slightly Informed. This week, we have the three hosts like normal, me, McLean, Nick, and John. And this week, unfortunately, we did not get Tom Hanks. We have Eric, which is not terrible.
Very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Close second.
Yeah.
Not quite Tom
Most
Hanks.
people, when they name like their top two favorite guests they wanted to have on our podcast, it was a real close tie between Tom Hanks and our friend named Eric.
I'm still just doing my best, guys.
Do
really
better.
Just doing whatever I can. I
Do
know.
better.
I don't need sorry. I need better.
Yeah.
I say it myself. Trust me. I could learn from my own wisdom, but.
All right, so this week, first half is gonna be coronavirus. We're gonna talk a lot about that, and then second half,
Surprise.
yeah, surprise.
The only thing.
The thing that
anyone
you've
can
been
talk
talking
about.
to your
Yeah,
friends and your
literally.
parents and your family about.
And then second half, we each have some stuff we want to talk about, and then we are going to subject our guest to our very fun game, Slightly Improvised.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll jump into the rules and stuff on that before he goes, but
He's so screwed.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Like
too
I said,
excited.
I'm just gonna be doing my best.
Here to have a good time.
All right,
No,
so let's jump into the coronavirus. I'm gonna throw some stats out there, just to kind of, I guess, catch everyone up if you haven't been paying attention, or at least let you know where we were when we recorded this. So, total cases worldwide, we're at 336,075 cases. We're at 14,613 deaths, with 97,000 people recovered. China technically still leads with, and they're way more than this,
With a
but
lie.
with a lie, they have 81,000 total cases. Italy right now catching up fast. They have 59,000 cases, 5,000 deaths. 5,000 deaths. USA 32,000 cases, 416 deaths. New news as of 5 minutes ago, 99 of those are in New York City alone.
Jesus.
Spain has 28,000 with 1,700 dead.
Oof.
So this is not good.
No.
Some other news we just found out, Canada will not be sending anyone to the Olympics. They just
The Olympics
announced
are
that.
paused for now.
Interesting.
They shut down the Olympics.
Did they officially do that?
No,
They
see,
have-
I was
they
told they
haven't officially.
I was told they have 4 weeks to make a decision.
I thought they officially
They have 4 weeks.
postponed it.
They lit the torch yesterday. They started running around with the Olympic torch yesterday.
Wait, really?
What?
Yeah.
What?
I don't.
Japan,
No, I saw
Japan,
they- I saw
Japan
they lit
doesn't
the
have that
torch.
many cases. And they aren't testing it near as many people. They've tested like 12,000 people, and South Korea is testing 15,000 people a day. But as far as I know, and like I said, like our podcast name, Slightly Informed, so we could be wrong. John's looking it up right now.
Yeah,
but
so
I just got the news. Canada isn't sending anyone to the Olympics, so
Eric
that
is-
tells me that they haven't completely called them off
Yeah,
yet.
Eric's right.
Eric's right. We have a deadline for decision on games amid coronavirus. So they've set a deadline for when the decision has to be made.
Okay.
And yeah, it looks like Eric's right.
Mid-April. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Well, as of now, Canada says, fuck that. We're not sending anyone.
Well, I
they
mean,
said
yeah,
it
more
is held
countries
this
just need to
summer.
make that
I was
decision
going to
so
say
that
no
it,
offense, but I would follow suit.
Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah,
Hold-
it's not good.
No.
put pressure their
Yeah,
hand to
guys.
not do this.
Yeah.
Thousands
So-
of the world's sexiest people in one village. We can't risk that.
No, God, no. Yeah.
That's not a risk I'm willing to take.
So I guess let's start this off with, roundtable this guy. But I will start it off with the first 2 weeks of Corona being real bad in the U.S. Trump made 33 false claims on the podium addressing the nation.
That's impressive.
Is
33
that
false.
unique?
That's impressive.
No,
I was
but
going to say, what's the average
Yeah,
number of false
right.
claims?
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make at a
yeah,
press
right.
conference?
it's not crazy. But when people, you hear people on Twitter and stuff, oh, our Lord and Savior Trump is saving the day. What? He's made 33 false claims. And I saw a video the other day of, his name is Andrew something. He's I think he's head of the CDC. He's been up talking a lot.
Fauci?
Yeah. He's just like, Trump said something, and he just like, he
Yeah,
grabbed
yeah.
his eyes, and he's like, shit, I'm just hot, and wiped
Son
his
of a
brow.
bitch.
It's not good.
A big thing this past couple weeks has been like flattening the curve, which is like
let's make sure they don't all happen at once so we don't overwhelm the hospital systems.
Yeah.
And so far we've been on like the fastest incline of any country.
Yep.
So we're doing like
Rad.
the opposite of flattening the curve.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And the thing that I've told pretty much anybody that I've talked to about this topic in the last couple weeks is that shit's gonna get a lot worse
Before it gets better. Yeah.
We're
Well,
a long ways away until
Both the disease
peak of
and then
infection.
even after we fix the disease, the economic impact.
It's
of
just
it.
going to be unbearable.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yes. And coupled with that is that everything will eventually bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be all right. We'll get through this. We'll have to rely on others to do it. But yes.
But
it's,
also, what's the timeline? Because like we recovered from the Great
timeline?
Depression.
Anybody,
too. And it
anytime
was
I
like
ask somebody if
5 shitty years.
in the restaurant industry if they think they're going to be open in 2 weeks when people are quoting them and they say yes, I'm like, you're
You're wrong.
high. You're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
wrong.
What was
It's not
the-
going to happen in 2 weeks. It's going to be 2 to 3 months.
What was the quote you mentioned? You talked about John about unemployment rate. Who was the one that said?
Oh,
that
the
it
head of the
was-
Fed said that unemployment could spike in Q2 to as high as 30%,
which is
which
an
daunts Great
all-time.
Depression
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
Fucking
Great Depression level
rad,
was
yeah.
give or take 25%.
Yeah.
So if we hit 30%,
And this doesn't include underemployed, meaning people whose hours got cut to like 12 hours a week, the only time that
and
they're
I mean,
open.
and that's just U.S. I mean, thinking globally, everyone's stock markets are just taking shits. It's not good. South Korea's jumped again 7% down today, and
Well,
we've officially lost all gains in the past 5 years.
Since Trump took over, the Trump bump is gone. And to bring some lightness to it, this was a quote I read the guys from Bill Mitchell on Twitter. He said, "I do not understand how our hospitals can handle 670,000 flu cases every year, but a few thousand COVID-19 cases overwhelm the system. We've been dealing with massive flu outbreaks for decades. To me, this is all part of the hype." And then another Twitter user, Kilgore Trout Stonks Autographer, responds, "I do not understand how McDonald's can serve 2 billion hamburgers every year, but when I order 5 million at the drive-thru, it overwhelms the system."
That's a perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
no, it's Bill Mitchell, all-time greatest tweeter.
That's also that's the perfect case of flattening the curve. Is like you can serve 2 billion hamburgers.
Yeah.
But if someone asked for 10,000 at once, it would be a big problem. And that's what we're going through with this virus. Is
Yeah.
you have thousands of people going to the hospital that's not equipped to deal with that many people at once.
I did love the video. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was people like on their balconies in New York outside of, I think it was like Washington Square Park or something like that. And the park was just full of people. And there was just people everywhere walking around acting like it was, business as usual. And these guys, like there's 3 or 4 different people in completely different apartments screaming from the top of their like lungs at the top of the roof.
Yeah.
Go home,
Yeah.
flatten the curve.
Yeah.
You are being an asshole and stuff like that,
Yep.
just screaming at these people at the top of his lungs for like
Yeah.
a half an hour. And like,
Yeah.
of course, no one was listening.
No one's
They're just
listening.
having a good time. The beaches in Florida are still
Are fucking
filling up.
crazy.
But that's also like in times of like actual war, this like feeling of invincibility sometimes helps Americans. In times of like a war against a virus, this is gonna be the
like
death of all
the
of us.
exact death. Yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone's seen
Have
those
you
videos
guys
of the
seen-
Florida kids.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know. I had this planned,
Well, I was gonna say, not to,
I
like-
spent money, I'm not gonna blow that money. I'll
Let the
come
virus
party.
stop me.
Not to take apart from the factual part of this, but are we
you
going to
definitely can in
listen? Are we
certain
going to
parts.
listen to anybody that lives in Florida and what they're doing?
I don't
or,
care
like,
if you're
think of them
visiting. If you're
as-
in Florida, you're classified as a Florida man.
You're the
cares.
worst.
You are
Yeah.
in
No one
immediate
cares.
danger to anyone near you as soon as you step into Florida.
Yeah, that's, and I mean that is the thing. People are like, you're young. This isn't gonna affect you, but on some
Well,
level,
also
you
it will.
do have
It
to
will.
look.
Like it's not.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's not. The more and more cases have been coming out of like he
Younger
was
people.
35 and
Yeah.
he's coughing up like blood cells because like his lungs are deteriorating.
There's a grad student. He's like
And the
24
other
years
thing that
old and he's
people don't
dying.
think about,
Yeah.
and I definitely don't
And
want
it's
to
not
shed
a
any
fun way to die. Like,
negative.
there's decent ways to die.
And that's not
like,
it.
That's not
coughing
it.
Drowning
up-
in your own
Yeah.
fluids
Well,
of
and
your
also,
lungs.
They're saying
and, like,
a nurse on the front lines was saying they have to tie down almost all the patients who get
Yeah,
bad.
they're
because
shaking so
Well,
violently.
and also their fever gets so bad that when they have the tubes down their throat to help them breathe, they're delirious and they feel like they're being choked. So they're trying to like rip out this tube because they're so delirious.
So they have
no
to
idea
strap
what's
their
going on.
arms down.
So they have
Yeah.
to strap them down physically. So yeah,
It's the shit you don't see.
if you think this is like a fun joke, it's not. Like,
yeah,
and
if
chances
you're
are
still
most-
going to bars, if you're still going to clubs,
Get
Statistically,
serious.
most of us
Come
are
on.
okay,
Fuck
but
you.
like, don't be a dick. Like,
Yeah.
how hard is that?
And I mean, the other thing is, they say smokers and stuff have a higher likelihood of dying from this. But the other thing, I read some article the other day that was saying that, you know, and this article was like, I don't want to shed any bad light on people who smoke weed and stuff like that. Like the person who wrote the article is like, weed's fucking great. I smoke weed every day. But it doesn't do near as much harm for your lungs that cigarette smoking does, but it
Still
it's
irritates.
Well,
still
anything
not
that
great.
you inhale is going
So
to.
you're
That's
hurting your
vape,
lungs,
that's cigarettes.
even on a small
Even vape,
amount.
I think vape is
Yeah.
even a thing.
Yeah.
Anything
Vape
that you're
is-
putting in your
lungs, it's not
that's
meant to
not
do that.
oxygen.
Yeah, it's-
or air, I guess, not
And
oxygen, but
somehow, I don't know if that's come across Trump's desk, but he's gonna fucking run with it because he hates vaping. But it's gonna. You have to be conscious that these things could affect you. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't affected near as many, but
also a lot. The
you
thing I
tempt
use
fate, it's gonna be you.
at work all the time is like, yeah, 3%'s not a lot until you're that 3%, and then that fucking sucks.
Or
like, yeah,
like
you
the other
know,
argument is like 3% of these Skittles are or M&Ms are filled with shit instead of chocolate. I'm not eating out of the bowl.
yeah.
I don't
that's
care if it's only 3% chance.
Well, the other thing we could say to the viewers is, you know, at home, raise your hand if you have bad fucking luck. All right, you might be one of those 3% because I damn sure am somehow gonna be.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree.
mean, you have to look at the big picture, and
Well, and just like have some
Florida
sense of
men aren't.
have some sense of community. Like the fact that like your neighbor across the street that you see his kids have to come over and do his yard work for him because he's too like old and frail. Like he'll just eat that. He won't survive it.
No.
They're even like some countries that are ahead of us in the curve have stopped like
Italy did
treating people. Yeah, Italy stopped treating people over 85. Yeah, or 80. Yeah,
I think it was 80. Yeah.
yeah. So like think about the people around you. Think about the people that they care about and that you care about. Like
Also, it's wild to me that like this applies to every topic, like vaccinations and everything. But it's just like there are people who've dedicated like their lives to studying like public health, and we're just like, nah, man, I googled it.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna be okay. You know, like this guy's did like as a doctor dedicated
all your research.
12
I
years of his
think I
life
got
to
this.
studying,
Yeah.
like how to end a pandemic. And he's like, look, just stay inside for a couple weeks, like soften the curve. Like we'll have enough ventilators if not everyone gets it at once. And then people are just like, fuck that, I'm going to Florida, man. I got
booked
a party.
this trip a month ago.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, it pisses me off. It's like there are experts, and we should still like it's not gonna harm your life to chill for 2 weeks, or even like they said limit gatherings to like 4 or 5 people or 6. Like we're with 6 people right now.
Yeah.
Like just make sure it's a small number, so even if like you do spread it, you can trace exactly who and make sure you can quarantine. I forgot what state it was, but there was like a superintendent of a school district who was one of the first ones to shut down a school district, and he basically came out and said like, look, this might be an overreaction, and if it is, we'll never know. But if we underreact, we will know,
and
because thousands of people will be dead.
Yes, exactly.
So let's overreact.
Yeah.
And if everything's fine,
It's
like
better to overreact than under.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, let's just do it. It's not that cumbersome. Also, big fuck you to people buying like 13 cases of toilet paper as like old people can't buy any because
Fuck
they're slower than
off.
you. Big fuck you, dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
any hoarders, anyone going to the store to stock up.
There's zero
saw-
signs that the supply line is going to be interrupted.
What is? Where is it coming from?
Like,
Exactly.
There's no signs that the supply
Well,
line's going to be
I
interrupted.
saw an
Cases of
amazing
water.
video.
As I can tell, my water is still on, and as I can tell, those
The
people are
Idaho
not leaving the
governor
plant
came
anytime
out
soon.
and
the water
said-
Yeah.
treatment.
Water's fine. Calm the fuck down.
The treatment plant is working.
Yeah.
Those people are still working because they only need 10 people in
And
a
they're
whole treatment
integral
plant.
to society.
Yeah.
They're not leaving until this goes to full level zombie apocalypse status.
Yeah.
I saw
So
a
you're fine.
hilarious video, and it was this whoever filming their dad sitting there just pissed that he didn't get any toilet paper when he went to go buy some, right? So he's doing the math here, you know, he's figuring out how many sheets per roll, how many rolls per pack, right? And does the math, and he's sitting there and, you know, saying that every month and a half, someone goes and buys new toilet paper, right? That's just pretty standard.
Most of us buy the bigger packs.
Right.
Yeah.
So based on a Costco pack, these people who bought like 4 packs and still going off the fact that they're going to go buy more in a month and a half, are taking like 171 shits a day.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like,
That's even more than I'm taking.
Yeah.
That was my thing though was the supply chain. Like, where did the rumors come from? Like, I think it was just the pictures of an empty shelf saying the toilet paper got bought out quickly, and then that got on the news, so everyone went out and bought toilet paper.
It's almost like, you guys remember like 2 years ago when like FOMO, like fear of missing out, was the big thing. I think it's that, but for groceries, where it's like, like no, legit, you have like a
I don't
fear
want
of, like,
to get it too late.
Other people are gonna go do it. I should do it first, otherwise I'm going to miss out on them.
Oh,
That's why,
my
like,
God.
I stocked up on probably like 30, 40 cans of soup like 3 weeks ago because we on this podcast were talking about like the fake numbers coming from China
Yeah.
and how bad
It's
this
going
was
to be
gonna
big,
get.
yeah.
Yeah, so
we
I
called
stocked
it.
up like 3 weeks ago, and then a week and a half ago when they announced, hey, shit's going to be bad, I went to the soup aisle at Walmart, and it was completely empty, except for vegetable soup, because no one likes fucking that shit.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
Okay,
No, but
I would-
yeah, like, people are afraid that, like, oh, if I don't buy, like, 2 pallets of toilet paper, then maybe I won't be able to
Take my
shit
forklift
yeah,
to
in a
Costco.
year. Yeah. No, straight up, though,
Fuck
it's
the
wild.
shopping
Come on,
cart.
come on.
It ain't got no hydraulics.
Be a real hero here and just take a dump, hop in the shower immediately after.
That's literally worst
wash
case
yourself
scenario.
off, dry off, leave. Like worst case scenario, you're cleaner more frequently.
Yeah,
Boom.
exactly. You basically have a ghetto bidet. Have fun. Okay, let's transition away from the effects of this disease into the economic.
responses,
Well, I
yeah.
think economic impacts and the responses of our government trying to save us from this. Thank God. For
As
the
of
government.
today,
they really
coronavirus, the
No.
coronavirus stimulus package in the Senate.
There's
was
a
shot
few of
down.
them who are trying.
Okay,
So I
so-
think it's important to address though that like early in this week when like Monday, Tuesday was rolling around, we have a group chat and we were talking about how like Trump just won this re-election
Yeah.
because the right wing is coming out and saying, yes, give people fucking cash.
Yeah.
Like they're hurting. Just cut those checks. We'll deal with it all later.
Nothing
Like
speaks
Mitt
louder
Romney
than
came
cash.
out, Jeff Halley came out, and they all said, just cut those fucking checks. And then Mnuchin and Trump both said, yeah, we're going to get people checks by like, I think it was April 6th.
Yeah.
They
April
said they'll-
4th, I think.
Okay, something like
4th or 6th, somewhere
As
in there.
soon as possible.
First
they
week of
said.
April, which was about like 2-3 weeks from the crisis, or from this last week of the crisis, they said we're going to get people checks, and then that bill hit Mitch McConnell's desk, and it turned into we're going to exclude people who make less than 40 grand and people who make more than I think 75 grand, and we're only going to hit the middle, which fucked up the
And
whole
use the
bill.
rest of the money
Well,
to go towards
John-
bailouts.
towards corporate bailouts.
Yeah.
John's idea on that is simple, but the easiest solution is
It's not my idea. I can't take credit for it. But the easiest solution
Whatever
that
you
everyone's
told
been
me,
talking
yeah.
about, the easiest solution that everyone's been talking about is send the checks tomorrow, and we can decide on a number. I mean, my number would be pretty high because you could have made 200 grand last year, and your job's completely gone now and made
Yeah.
zero.
Yeah.
So there, to me, it's a high number. It'd probably be like 250, and we'd say, look, we're gonna cut every American checks. I like Talib's plan.
2,500.
I like Talib's plan, which was 2,000 first check, which would go out like tomorrow, and then
And
every
a-
month after that, a
1,000
grand.
until we are done with the
Talib's
situation.
plan is basically, just to summarize before we finish that argument, is 2,000 first check, 1,000 a month till the crisis is over, and then for 12 months following the end of whatever we call the crisis, you still get $1,000 a month to kind of like
Ease
softly
the-
reintroduce you
yeah.
to the
the
economy.
economy, yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
want to
so
on your
I like her plan for that. She included illegal immigrants. I wouldn't have, just because I don't think an illegal
Just to get
immigrant
it across
would
the
have
across the
ever
goalpost.
passed.
Yeah, just to get across the
would have got
goalpost.
us there. with
It's
that
not.
on.
Yeah, it's not going to pass. But basically, people were saying was, if we're all going to fight about benefits, which is what fucking Nancy Pelosi's doing right now,
People
Mitch
versus
McConnell.
Pelosi.
Yeah, people are fucking trying to fight about Scott Santens. Shout out a guy I follow on Twitter who's like super pro UBI researcher.
Definitely
he was saying,
follow him.
Yeah, he was saying it's
Solid
like there's a
content.
fire going on in the kitchen, and we're in the dining room living or arguing about like if we can afford the water. And it's like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
just fucking or like how much did like this part of the kitchen make last year, and should we really help it putting it out? It's like let's not try to do that. Yeah, so like his argument is just cut the checks, but I'm okay with some people who say cut the checks, and if you made over 250, which we will announce ahead of time, we're gonna ask for those checks back in tax season. It's just saying like we're gonna give everyone the money. If you want to use it now to soften the blow, great. Your taxes might go up if you made over $250,000, and we're just gonna ask for that money back. But everyone under a certain line, this is money from the government, and it'll help soften the blow.
And on some level, why that's the obvious best idea.
Yeah,
Like,
well, this is the
you're
crisis.
making 250. You're making 25 million a year. Okay, I owe the government an extra $1,000.
I wouldn't even means test that though. I don't fucking care. Donate it. What does $1,000 mean to someone who was worth $25
Drop in the
million?
bucket. Yeah.
They have
Absolutely
no
nothing.
fucking clue they even got that.
Just for expediting getting this to
Yeah.
the people and
We're gonna
making
argue
the most
for
impact
months
which
about
just
this.
get it done.
Yeah.
Just stop arguing
They
about the
spent that on
line.
a cheap bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
fucking
Means
give them $1,000.
nothing.
Who cares?
Yeah, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
And if you're one of the people making like 300 or 150 and you want to be like generous and donate that, awesome. If you don't, I don't care.
And
like
what
just
would
get
it look
people
like
the fucking
from
checks.
the U.S. government saying, we're giving you this money. If you truly don't need it, please, here is a list of 500 charities.
Pick one.
please pick one and please donate. That would be such a great move on behalf.
Yeah,
of
just
the
That's
a
why-
disaster relief.
That's why
program or
earlier in the
something,
week, when it looked like Republicans were going to pull this and run to the left of Biden,
Yeah.
we were saying the election's over.
Yeah.
If the Republicans came out and gave everyone $1,000,
Oh, yeah.
like the election's done.
Well, even if say like they don't even get like a lot of the worker provisions and stuff that the Democrats want, if the
Cash.
Republicans can get any money to their base and then to people who are undecided,
Yeah,
and they
that's
haven't
done.
even seen the proposed candidate for the Democrats in this entire time.
Yeah,
he
it's
said he's
over.
not. He said he doesn't even feel like willing to speak on the
It's
issue.
over.
That's like it's.
Let me tell you guys best case scenario. This was one I read on our late stage capitalism, or I stole the last part of this idea from there. But first, you cut everyone the 2,000 and 1,000, right? Soften the blow on the working class. We have bills to pay. We're all going to default on our shit. Second, small businesses below 50 employees, you can take 0 interest loans and pay them back over a course of 10 years, 0 interest.
Yeah.
We don't want money
Oh,
from
absolutely.
it. If you need this money to float you, but you think you can get back to it, 0 interest loan, take the money.
Yeah.
Big corporations, there's probably got to be something to soften the middle, because big corporations, I'm talking like United, casinos asked to be bailed out. Like fucking, who else has to be bailed out? There's a couple other industries.
Airlines.
It's airlines, casinos, hotels.
And then a few are trying to throw their line in, like, well, people are asking.
Yeah, well, people are asking for cash.
Boeing is a little money short
Yeah.
here. Let's
What-
just throw
what
our
I read
line
on-
in the
And
bucket.
it's all the big people, but then it's all the little fish too.
Well,
you
what I
know?
read
You
on-
have all these hot tourist spots that like some little lady selling little trinkets that kills it.
Oh, no.
Is now not selling anything.
Well, that's the small
So
business
there-
loans.
yes,
But what I read
yes.
on late stage capitalism was what we should do, or what our government should do ideally, is say like, look, we don't mind giving you the money, but I will take that as shares of your company.
Yeah.
So if United wants $40 billion, the U.S. government now owns $40 billion worth
Worth
of
of
voting
shares.
Voting shares.
Yo!
Yeah. Is that not the most
that's
fire idea
fucking
you've ever
dope.
heard? Yeah.
Well, like, because think about it.
Because that's playing in the rules of capitalism too. It's saying like, I will give you this money
Yeah.
because I'm the biggest creditor the world knows.
But it's the
But
one
I
time
would-
we get terms.
Yeah,
Ever.
you get terms. Well, and then
Ever.
also businesses who constantly fail, constantly want money, saying this time I'm gonna take 40%. Next time you can't take it for your bills,
Yeah.
take 20%.
Oh, yeah.
Oh shit, I own your company.
Yeah.
Boom. Like now you're a nationalized corporation. It's your own goddamn fault. Because United, we were reading about United, 96% of their cash flow over the last 5 years went to stock buybacks.
Yep. Guess what Boeing was?
What was theirs?
96.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
just
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And they tell poor
And-
people to like save their money for a rainy day and like pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Guess-
But if you're making billions in profit, we're just like, ooh, we can't have planes not flying.
Yeah.
So here's $40 billion. Like, fuck you guys. No.
Boeing's about 50 million under negative in the books too, which is why they threw their hat in the ring. They said, "Hey, if the airline industry is going down, so is the
Airline suppliers.
suppliers, the
Manufacturers.
manufacturers are also we're down chain." But
those guys.
yeah, no, they basically
Boeing's
they
been
built
fucked for way too
they
long.
built a billion dollar project or a $2 billion project on building the 747 Max.
Yeah.
and then it
37.
747
I
Max.
think you're right.
Yeah,
747.
747 Max. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
he's right. I don't know.
it's the one with the thing that comes above the wing, and it caused a
Yeah.
bunch of crashes, and
It's
that
got
was a stock drop.
winglets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so like it died, and they finally got they finally got reapproved for it like
Yeah.
less than a month ago, and then this shit hit.
Well, that was
Honestly,
a
for
fucked
me,
up
it's
thing.
just the
we
buybacks.
Could,
Like-
we could talk about that shit for. I could talk. They try. Okay.
McLean's our airline guy.
I-
Our airplane guy.
yeah,
I'm gonna talk just briefly on this because
All
this
right, let's
bothers
get
the
back
shit
to the
out of me.
economy.
Yeah.
Okay. They tried to save money using an old fuselage so they didn't have to redesign another one. They wanted to be faster, more efficient, put bigger engines on
Also,
it.
outside of
bigger
plane
With the
tech,
same size.
I heard they hired like essentially Fiverr level programmers from India. So they can
Oh, it goes deep, right? But it had this certain software.
that's the word I heard.
That if the plane was climbing too much, it would
Yep.
force itself down
into a
right?
stall. Yeah.
So a lot of these pilots and didn't get the training, right? So Ethiopian Airlines was one of the
It
ones
was a
that
video.
went down. It was a video.
The training was a video.
You don't fucking train pilots on commercial airliners with a fucking video. You send people there and
train
train
the
them.
person.
Wait, McLean, you're telling me that because I watched the Rocket League World Championships that I'm not a world champion level player?
Basically,
Exactly.
that's what they thought.
Is that what
So
you're-
all
That's
these
not how
airplanes,
this works.
yeah, right?
pilots
Shit.
not
Wild.
having the correct training, the plane shot itself into a nosedive because Boeing was cheap and
Yeah.
tried to
Yep.
correct physics with computer software.
But this is the perfect example.
That's not how that fucking works.
This is the
I'm
perfect
done. I'm
example.
done talking about it.
But this is
Boeing
the perfect
fucking
example
sucks as far
of-
as that's concerned.
Perfect example of how to nationalize a company.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I don't like the idea
It
of
should
necessarily
be.
just swooping companies, but I think
I
if they,
do.
if, I know you do.
Unironically,
I know you do. I know you do.
unironically, I love it.
But
Sorry.
I know you do. But what I'm saying is, this is the perfect compromise between capitalism and socialism. To say like,
we'll buy it.
yeah, we'll buy it.
Yeah.
If you need 40, and if we didn't do it, if the U.S. government didn't do it, some investor would. That's why I don't care if they default. Because the airline industry, someone's gonna want to be invested in the airline industry. So if they fucking default on all their loans and fire all the employees, who knows? Like, another airline might step in. Someone might buy their airline. Who knows?
Jeremy Corbyn proposed a bill with McDonald, the guy that was that's kind of his kind of cohort in the party.
Yeah.
And essentially the idea was that if any corporation based in the UK decided that it wanted to close its doors, fire everyone, and sell off the company, or just like shut down operation, then there's always a second option for the workers, anyone that's not a non-owner in the company, that's a worker in that company, basically pools together, decides if they would rather basically buy the company on a loan from the government. So what the government would do is buy the company on a loan at a zero interest loan to what would become a co-op. And then basically the workers of whatever business was fucking around in whatever industry it was trying to do, they just said, fuck you guys. We bought you. Here it goes to instead of.
Can we dive back into casinos? Do we need to bail out casinos?
Fucking God.
What fundamental purposes what
fucking
fundamental
money
purpose
do
does
they
casinos
make?
have to? I mean, let's get. Eric, I feel like you have an opinion on. You seem to have a visceral reaction.
Would you
to
bail
casinos.
out casinos?
No, God, no. They're fun to be at for like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. Well, what part of that's necessary to society?
How does that help us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
A bank gives loans. A bakery provides food.
Yeah.
Airlines transport everyone.
Yeah, they transport
People,
people.
things.
They even out the
Casinos
supply
take
chain.
poor people's money.
Like,
Yeah.
there's so many parts of our economy that it's like, even though I disagree with a just flat-out bailout of these companies, I can see the bailout because those are necessary functions for society, and you don't want to have to, like, build something from scratch after something burns down. You want to, like, save that thing.
And that goes for all bailouts. You know, Republicans fucking hated Obama for bailing out GM. But on some level, you can say this is how many jobs, like, it's necessary, and at least everyone could kind of agree on that.
I still
Some
don't
people
like
thought
it though.
yes
If most
and no.
of their money goes to stock buybacks.
Yeah.
If
Sorry.
why am I expected to save and plan for rainy day when they can just fucking line their
Inflate
pockets?
their stock price.
Yeah, and
sell
then
out
when
at higher
anything bad
points.
happens, like honestly, the fundamental argument for the stock market and why capital gains should pay less tax rates is like, hey, we're taking a risk on this investment, and it could go up, it could go down.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. But then, why is it that big businesses, anytime it goes down, just get to turn around and be like, hey, fuck you, pay me.
We're sorry.
Fuck you, pay me. Why is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that.
My paycheck is not going to go towards any fucking bank.
Our generation's so fed up with that
We're
bullshit
done,
that
yeah.
like it's gonna fundamentally change. It might not change this time because the government has a very strong way of fucking up a crisis, and that's exactly what they're gonna do this
No,
time.
they
ASAP.
don't.
Yeah.
No.
When?
John.
Name
Well,
one.
supposedly Nancy Pelosi walked out of the
People
meeting.
versus Pelosi.
Yeah, supposedly.
I just love to plug that.
Supposedly, she walked out of the meeting where people were talking about sending people
UBI?
checks.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah.
I think I read another article that proved that she did. It wasn't like supposedly anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's the society we're living in. Is that these people? And what I sent you, Nancy Pelosi's net worth is like $300 million.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
has
yeah.
no idea what an average person deals with. Zero
No.
fucking
Yeah.
clue. None of these people.
What could it cost?
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
banana,
when you get
Michael.
to a
$10?
point-
$10? Yeah.
After the bills are paid and all sorts of stuff, and you have like $30, and you're like, all right, so this has got to pay for gas and food for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks
I've
like I'm eating
literally
ramen.
been there.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Most people have been
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
These people haven't, and
The right solution and something I don't know if any do you guys watch Rising with Crystal Ball?
Yeah. I watch Rising. Yeah.
They had a segment that was basically like the government always responds in a way that's not proportional to the current crisis. Like $800 billion helped end of the 2008 recession.
Yeah.
But it was not like to meet the moment. Like you would have had to have like 1.5, 2 trillion to really meet the moment and help society. Bail out the people, even if you wanted to bail out the banks, at least bail out the people too. Like whatever it is. Like in this crisis, what it's going to take is like 2 trillion, 3 trillion, because like there's no way without some form of UBI that we're going to eat a 30% unemployment rate. Yeah. It's not going to fucking happen.
No way.
Well, and also just
the way
that ownership and things move in our economy is super, super efficient when things are going right. And that's what this is proving is that it's super efficient when one's sick, when there's no pandemic, when there's nothing going on. Nothing is invading, nothing is crashing your economy. Yeah. But when it comes to something like this, if you were in a society where ownership, rather than being distributed through shareholders, through whoever had the most scratch to put on the table for the business to start at the beginning, if it was in a more like collectively owned, say, I mean, it's way off for us now, but like in Europe, there's some countries that are kind of close, like a co-op based model where, say, like Mondragon is the third biggest microchip producer in the world, but it's cooperatively owned and voted upon and democratically structured.
Grocery store.
Winco's great. Winco has worn this better than anyone else. Yeah. They increased overtime hours for anyone who wanted to help keep stock up with demand. They gave automatic paid leave to anyone who showed symptoms, so that they're not endangering lives, but they're increasing the staff so that people will have the things that they need.
Well, also, I don't know if I ever shouted it out before, but just like while we're on that topic, shout out to Costco CEO because he maxed his salary at $500,000 a year. Yeah, because he was like, "What the fuck else
That's
would
the thing.
I buy?"
They put a cap.
$500,000 is like a lot of fucking cash.
They put a cap in Costco that the lowest paid employee and the highest paid employee could only be a certain distance
40
apart.
times.
Yeah, it was something like that. And that's a proposal that a lot of people have instituted, like for that kind of stuff, and it's done well because people like working for Costco. Yeah, they can then afford benefits and so much crazy good shit for their employees now that they're not paying someone 700 times the cost of a worker.
Costco CEO for a similar sized company, I think Walmart CEO makes like around $50 million a year.
Yeah.
So
the Waltons are insanely rich.
Well, and Waltons are just shareholders. They're not even the CEO. The CEO makes
an outrageous amount of money.
But pennies compared to what the Waltons make. Yeah. Being like just owning the mass amounts of the shares there. So like, but a CEO, a very similar CEO could make 40, 50, 60 million dollars a year. But Costco's CEO is a human being. And I'll Google his name later and shout him out next week because he's a good person and he deserves recognition. Yeah. But yeah, fuck the companies who say they want to bail out. Yeah. We should ask for shares.
Absolutely.
A ton of
and dilute their shares.
If they don't,
this was their whole point. Yeah. Buy the shares. If they don't have enough shares to go around, now everyone else is diluted. Sucks, dude. You invested. You thought United was a solvent company. It turns out they weren't.
Bad investment, bud.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, wait, you bought an apartment that was $100 too expensive for you? You're kicked out on the street. Man. Sorry, bro. Yeah. But you invested in a company that ran their shares into the ground after buying 96% to inflate their stock price.
It's always capitalism for the poor,
socialism for the rich. Yeah.
It's that, but you can break it down to so much as the person who paid $100 more than they can afford would like the luxury of having a washer and dryer in their fucking building.
Yeah, just...
Something as fucking simple as that. And these CEOs
this is another one
aren't even doing their own fucking laundry.
Another one I'm going to credit.
Throw it on the ground. It's picked up tomorrow, and it's hanging in their closet the next day.
Yeah, I'll credit this to the Hill Rising, and we can get you guys in on the discussion. But they were, what's the guy's name? Sauger. Yeah. Sauger. He's a cool guy. I like that guy. But
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, he's definitely farther right, but I like to have that. He's the least douchebag far right guy, or not even far right. The least douchebag right guy that I can listen to and has decent opinion.
Yeah. He has decent opinions on 90% of stuff.
Yeah. They were talking about how this moment, if not handled well, will lead to the rise of a far right and a far left that you could not even fathom.
Oh, absolutely.
This is the guillotine the billionaires moment, and the oh shit, we need a fascist overlord to guide our society.
All right, I think this is a good point to bring us into the second half. Let's start the second half.
That's the fun half.
The first, but a whole lot
differenter.
A whole lot worse. So you're gonna say?
I ain't talking about the game.
I was like, you're talking about
practice.
Like a practice.
But welcome to the fun half.
Let's go.
The fun half. I'm gonna throw us into shout-outs. I would like to formally shout out the coronavirus for infecting Harvey Weinstein.
Got him. Got him.
That was the best part of my week for sure.
That's so funny.
That was incredible, and that's all I have to say about it. So I'm gonna throw it over to John.
Did you guys hear in his like closing statements? He didn't like apologize like he usually do to like get a softer sentence from the judge. He was just like,
Wait, he usually apologizes?
no, like usually in a court case you apologize.
like a defendant.
Not
him.
Yeah, not him. No,
Sorry
no.
for
No, I'm
murdering
gonna lead
my
into
wife.
exactly how he did.
He's
but,
not fun.
Yeah.
He's not prone
But
to
usually
that.
you apologize at the last phase, so hopefully the judge goes light on you. But he tried to be like, those were the times. We didn't really understand what we were doing was wrong. And I was like, yeah, okay, Harvey.
All right.
Yeah.
That works for maybe a 90-year-old who still uses the N-word. Like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
not
whatever.
for a
Like,
rapist.
she was raped.
Yeah.
No. There was never a time where that was like the...
Yeah.
That was cool.
So big old fuck you to Harvey Weinstein. But I want to shout out, we mentioned him a little in the first half, Mitt Romney being the first Republican senator to come out for UBI. So,
Alright.
usually
Fuck yeah,
a
Mitt
lot of times he
Romney.
has trash takes, but recently he's had some decent ones. He voted pro-impeachment on one of the impeachment charges, and then now
That
he
took some
came out.
balls.
Yeah, that took some real balls,
It
and now he
did-
came
really
out
did.
pro-UBI as one of the first Republican. I think he was the first Republican senator to come out pro-UBI. So
Would surprise me.
Well, I mean, he came
Way
up
to
with
go, Mitt.
Obamacare. Like,
Yeah.
realistically, like he's honestly, if he weren't religious, he'd be a Democrat. He's like,
I honestly also
he's
feel like-
as far left as like Schumer or Pelosi is.
and
but
I think his connection with God is why he voted yes on the impeachment.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
They make you
Definitely,
swear on a
definitely,
Bible, and everyone else was like, "Yeah, I totally swear."
I got
you
you,
didn't see my
bud.
crossed
Yeah.
fingers behind my back, God.
And he was real
Yeah,
scared
yeah.
of what was going to happen
He
in the
swore on that
afterlife. He was
Bible
like,
and-
oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, he genuinely meant it. Which,
Yeah.
like, I don't ascribe to religion, but I respect that he was like, "Yeah, I said to God I would be a fair and impartial juror," and he really fucked up on that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I will vote for impeachment. But yeah, shout out to Mitt Romney for not being a total bootlicker.
Not a complete hack.
Yeah, passing it to Eric.
Right here. Shout out to the coronavirus for making it a lot easier for all us introverts to just live our normal daily lives.
True.
It's
Just
government mandated regular
Introversion.
living.
All
Yeah.
right, cool. You're gonna tell me I can't leave my house. I
I have to
do
stay on
everything
my
from inside.
couch.
Oh my
Darn.
god.
Ah.
Fuck.
I wasn't planning to do
Guys,
that.
I haven't told you. I was going to write a book about the trials and tribulations I've gone through the last week, having to sit on my bed and play Call of Duty Warzone for
Yeah.
72
Over and
hours
over and over.
straight.
Every
yeah.
time I've called Nick for the past week, that's what he's been doing.
I'm okay, sorry. I
Sounds
just
about right,
I just
yeah.
hit the ground. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to call me back. I'm in the middle of something.
No, there's been some unprecedented environmental impacts from the coronavirus that I feel like have been somewhat beneficial.
Definitely,
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
Look towards the positives of it, and
Like the
Well, what was
shout
it,
out the
the-
coronavirus.
Yeah,
for,
like
I
the
said,
Venice-
making it
the
easier
canals
for
in
all
Venice?
us. Yeah.
First time they've seen like a swan
The
or
swans
something.
are coming back.
Yeah.
dolphins
to
are
the
flying
bottom of the
or swimming
canal,
through
yeah.
them. Like you can see fish in
Now,
there.
What
guys,
was it? The first time we
I'm gonna take a
flatlined on
secondary
CO2,
shout out to-
CO2 emissions.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a secondary shout out to R. Thanos did nothing wrong.
They're having a
just
field
living
day.
his
I bet they're having a
Yeah,
field
right.
day on that subreddit right
you
now.
remember there was
I'm
only
gonna
so
look
many
at the subreddit
resources.
tonight for sure.
Yeah, I guarantee that one's chock full of
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Way to go, Thanos. You could tell ahead of time.
All right, my shout out is a shout out to France. Now, I will preface this. France has been on the leading edge on a lot of the recovery stuff. They tend to be really good about public service stuff and making sure their citizens are taken care of and
They
stuff.
have people who will protest in the street for months on end.
Oh
was
yeah,
gonna say, but they smell
during
like
the
shit.
coronavirus, the yellow vest guys were just out there, dude. They were thrown down with cops as the
Yeah.
virus was spreading. Like they don't fuck around.
Yeah.
But Macron is still Macron, and liberals gonna liberal.
Never will not be.
Yeah, so he fined homeless people for quote unquote not staying indoors during the COVID-19 lockdown.
What doors do you want me to
Yeah.
stay inside?
Yeah, beautiful. It's
Get
like-
your cardboard box right now. Stay there.
Where is your shanty town?
Hey, we're not
What
going to
the
help you
fuck?
find any kind of housing, but we're going to write you a ticket for not having any kind of housing.
That's wild. Now, I don't know how France's laws work, but I know, like, that finding system did not pass the court system in LA. So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I fingers crossed France has like a relatively similar judicial system, and that shit will get struck down real quick with a pro bono lawyer team.
Yeah,
But-
we can only hope.
Yeah, I have no idea how their legal system works.
Yeah. Well, that's the shout outs.
So I guess I'm going first segment.
Yeah.
Mine's going to be a quick one today, but I just want to address the conspiracy world. Again. Not a true conspiracy corner. We're not talking about conspiracy. Just like a realization I had that if a liberal president tried to shut down the country for 3 weeks, she would have been on fire. Yeah, she would have been nuts. Because people would be all shouting, "You can't tell me how to live my life," and
there would not be a single business in Nebraska that
taking
shut
away
down.
my freedoms and all that shit.
Or a lot of states.
But since
Alabama would still be operating at 100% capacity.
Yeah.
Or
Every
also-
business would be open.
even outside that,
Discounts to come in.
the conspiracy boards would just be blowing up about how
Oh,
this is all a trick.
it's a false flag.
False flag to get martial law in place so they can put us all in FEMA camps and sort out the dissidents, kill them, so we can get society back normal. Because that's exactly what happened in 2015 when the Obama administration
God.
ran. It was a special operations command test in Texas that was just like, routine
Find out what would
military
happen. Yeah.
operation test, but it was in Texas and it was called Jade Helm. So everyone was like, Jade Helm, that's how they're going to get us all.
Yeah.
The military's going to come, they're going to institute martial law, and they're going to lock us up in all
Soon
those
enough, the
FEMA camps.
National
under the
Guard's going to be
Walmarts.
at your door asking
Yeah.
for your ARs.
Yeah, so-
signing you up on the list.
I just think it's wild that there's this huge double standard. There's a huge double standard in most communities, but especially in the conspiracy community because there's not many of us left-wing conspiracy fans. It's 90 to 95% right-wing conspiracy nuts.
but we're
so-
out there. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're out there.
We're out
I mean,
there.
Yeah.
I'm checking those boards for you guys, but so far it's been a mostly positive response or at least not negative response, theorizing in conspiracy. How this is. I don't think there's usually any positive response from the conspiracy community, but it hasn't been talking about how this is all. Yeah, this is all going to institute martial law.
Positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't found the right
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
It's not
You gotta
positive.
follow the right,
Yeah, it's not
community.
positive, but there's very little theories about how this is all going to be the end of society and the new introduction of the one world government. So
Yep.
I just want to address that point that we should treat most governments very similarly, where they're going to overreach, and we should stop that.
Yeah,
So-
but what about the kid that got shot in Horseshoe Bend? He's 12 years old. What the fuck?
I don't even know about this.
Really?
Yeah, no, I have no idea about this.
Backstory: Horseshoe Bend is about 40 miles from Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
A kid got shot there?
Small town.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a 12-year-old. Some dude was screaming about the end of days and shot this 12-year-old dead in the
Damn.
streets.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Is this news to you as well?
I-
I would have
I-
thought you.
No,
I
I
didn't know
had heard something about someone going crazy in some
I
small
didn't
town.
The only
and
thing I know
didn't
about
hear he shot
Horseshoe
someone.
Bend is it's 25 miles an hour through the whole fucking place, and it sucks.
Yeah, I was
I mean,
gonna say
yeah,
it's
it
a
sounds
piece
like a
of
shit
shit
place,
town.
but-
I'm not trying to advocate for
Yeah.
it. Just
It's
if
not-
anything,
not
I'm
an
trying.
ad
I was
for
gonna
it.
say
Yeah.
if anything, I'm trying to advocate
Against
for the
going
people
there, yes.
going backwards thinking and shit. But yeah, this 12-year-old was just standing on the streets, and some
The end of
random
days guy just,
40-some-year-old dude was screaming about the end of days and shot
Yeah.
this dude dead in the streets.
Oh wow.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Great.
That's my thing. Is it's not the virus that really concerns me. It's people's reaction.
It's the reaction. Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
how-
We
Definitely.
talked about
However-
borders. We
Yeah.
talked about the economy.
Yeah, it was
it's gonna get
the
bad.
exact. We said that word for word last episode. We were just like honestly, the virus is going to be not on the scale of even influenza. It's not even going to get to the scale of the Spanish flu. It's not going to get to the scale of all these things.
I wouldn't say that yet. But
That's pretty.
The Spanish flu was pretty crazy.
Killed
though.
like
That's-
300,000 people.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I think it killed 20 million people.
Yeah, it
Did
was a
it?
lot.
Am I
it was in the
that
millions.
far off?
No, yeah.
If I
Spanish.
If I had that
Spanish,
much to drink,
the Spanish flu is millions.
I
I'm
think it kills-
millions
oh,
of
yeah.
people
It was
off.
20
million
million
people
around the
globally.
20 million
Yeah.
mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get to the death rate of that, but
Sounds like you need another
in a
shot.
modern economy, having something
Just
anything
wait.
close to that hit us, this is what's happened.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
we're
gonna
fucked.
be bad.
And I'm gonna hijack this next segment. It was supposed to go to the Slightly Improvised for Eric, but
We'll do
mine
that
is
next.
mine is since I'm treading on John's toes here, dipping my toes into the conspiratorial waters of the internet.
Let's
Watch
hear it.
out, Nick.
Yeah, I know.
Oh jeez.
So I want to just get some
Nick
honest
actually
reactions.
leads this over the entire internet.
Yeah.
People look to
the
Nick
top
for
Reddit
this.
commenter.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
people look to Nick on this topic.
I'm actually Q.
Yeah.
I'm the guy from QAnon. I'm the guy who posted the original Q. But
Sure.
so guys, have you heard of? I know John has. So John, don't answer this.
Okay.
McClain or Eric, have you heard of the Clinton body count?
Oh God.
Yes.
I have not.
Oh, we got one.
Do enlighten
We got
me.
one.
Okay. So
Fuck his day up.
here we go.
Remember Seth Rich?
Yeah. So Seth Rich is one of these people. Now, so the Clinton body count. The idea is that the Clintons have been in positions of power for a while. They have a lot of
Way too long.
They have a lot of dirty ties to their old state, Arkansas, and they've got a lot of really messed up
Ties to the
shit.
CIA.
All CIA,
Ties to
all
pedophile.
all
Nothing doesn't
kinds
make
of
sense
stuff.
to me
Exactly.
so far.
Bill
Go
Clinton
on.
was of course
Clintons
on.
are scurry. That's all
Bill
you need to
Clinton was
know.
all over the Lolita Express. Him and Jeffrey were practically best friends.
Epstein.
Ghislaine.
What part of this am I supposed to not believe?
Okay, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Where's the conspiracy part? No.
Where's the
This is honestly the
conspiracy
wild part of this whole conspiracy is like you can get to like 80% through it and be like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright, cool.
All the dots are connected.
Go on.
And
So-
then sometimes they make the final leap though, and you're like, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really get those last
Go
two dots,
on.
but the first 80% made a lot of sense.
So the idea is that they've been in this position of power and they've had so much control over government and stuff for so long that like they've made a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
And
A law?
Again,
Or a
go
fuck
on.
yeah, just a massive amount of enemies. And now I will say before I go any further on this, like I am not like super conspiratorial. I'm like John. I'm enthused by conspiracy theories because they're interesting.
Yep.
I thought that it was just going to be like the far right people, but essentially there's 400 people on this list. 400 people closely related or allied or had some information or were going to testify or something, had something to do, and some knowledge of something to do with the Clinton campaign, either in Arkansas, national level for Bill, or national level for Hillary.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
That's 16 less than have been killed by coronavirus in the U.S.
Coronavirus overtook the Clintons.
Just barely, by
Oh,
16
shit.
people.
But
And you know, like 380 of these are probably complete bullshit.
no, absolutely. They're probably
There's
totally
20-ish that
explainable.
deserve a second look.
Yeah, I've copied a couple for
Yeah,
you.
okay.
I've found a couple of individual stories and one big case that ties in about 6 deaths. So Mary Mahoney was a former White House intern for the Clinton administration, a woman.
Yep.
Intern
Uh-huh.
for the administration.
She was pregnant?
with the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Yes, all this happened. She was murdered in broad daylight at a Starbucks in Georgetown.
Yeah.
And it happened just a week after she decided to go public with her story of sexual harassment in the White House.
Yep.
So like, come on.
There's some bad
Why
ones.
would you kill? Why would this person be killed at random?
Yeah.
In the middle of a Starbucks? How would that not be attached to this?
I would like to point out that Eric's microphone is the first one to be raised up in the air.
Yeah.
So
In any of these podcasts,
Yeah.
you had to check out for a moment. Another one here. Suzanne Collins reportedly had an affair with Clinton when he was the Arkansas Attorney General.
I don't believe it.
Died of a gunshot wound to the back of the head. Ruled a suicide. Ruled a suicide. How many guys, has anyone ever killed themselves by shooting themselves in the back of the head?
I would.
Is that's how you would do it?
That's how I do it.
You would, I would maybe get
Really?
Yeah, that's how I do it.
maybe
No,
like I
I-
would get Hillary
Oh, man,
Clinton's
no.
Hillary Clinton's
I'm actually very
fingerprints
intrigued about this.
copied and put onto my fingerprints. Put the gun with that, kill
Well,
myself in the back of
exactly
the
the
head,
reason
and then
why.
they'll think that Hillary Clinton was holding the
Yeah,
gun.
yeah, that's why I
boom.
do it, to frame Hillary.
Yeah. No.
Now it all makes sense.
It all makes
Fair
sense.
enough.
Yeah.
That's why I do it.
have
She
no-
thought she
you
was
got
sneaky.
me.
I no longer
She
have
thought
an
she was sneaky
argument.
by killing people and making it look like a suicide. We're gonna commit suicide and make it look like Hillary killed us. Big brain time.
Big brain time.
But here's another one. James Bunch died from a gunshot suicide. It was reported that he had a quote-unquote black book of people who which contained names of influential people who had visited prostitutes in Texas and Arkansas.
Well, that's the thing that got him. It's the black book. You know, that's why my book
Why are
is
you writing
is
shit
is
down?
bound in brown leather because it's not a
Rich
black book.
mahogany.
It's a brown book, so no one freaks out.
No one would
about
think.
it.
You see, any
No
black
one
book
kills
it
me
carries
about
some
it.
kind of connotation. I think you're right.
Exactly.
All right, here's another one. Ed Willie or Wiley, Willey. Google it. Look up the Clinton body count. It's real. Look it up. I'm kidding. Clinton fundraiser. Found dead November of
What
1993, deep in the woods in Virginia, of a gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. You know that classic? You guys know
Whose
that
woods?
classic suicide idea where you go miles into the woods so that no one can find your body after you've killed yourself?
Isn't that the Japanese suicide force?
Yes, yeah, exactly like that. We have an American version, and it's outside of Virginia where the
Cool.
Clintons live. Yeah,
You want to send me the location?
yeah, I got you.
Thanks, buddy.
No, yeah, that's what happened. Seriously, that's literally the story that was written up. Is that he walked miles into the woods,
I just fucking do it in my living
killed
room.
himself. Yeah, yeah. If anyone's gonna kill
Literally,
yourself,
though.
what? It's not your problem after that point.
No.
If you're gonna kill yourself, you're not gonna go.
It only kind of is.
I mean,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it is totally
It's not
someone else's.
my. It's totally.
No, absolutely no. I disagree. No, it absolutely
I
is
wouldn't
not
do
my
it in my
problem.
mother's living room.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like, if it's my own house, the cops. in
Someone
the
else
corner
has to
are
If
deal
gonna
I
with
no
this
longer
shit
have
out.
things to give a shit about,
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
Vince Foster who I was talking about.
Vince Foster.
Vince
Okay.
Foster's another big one.
I do not have that name either, so you're still good to give a story at the end
Yeah.
here.
I don't
But-
know the whole story.
But yet,
Yeah.
he died on the same day that his wife Kathleen claimed Bill Clinton groped her in the Oval Office in the White House.
You guys ever seen those movies where like, you know, like the first thing that obviously for me that comes to mind is Hill House. I just watched Hill House, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's the scene at the end where the father and son kind of see what happens, 20 years prior, right? I would pay so much money just to be a fly on the wall in the Clinton White House. Just to see the shit that went on at 10:30 at night.
Oh,
In the fucking Oval, I would pay so much fucking money
I guarantee you,
to see that shit.
you would get better content out of that than most reality shows.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
Can you
Oh, yeah.
imagine if we just broadcast that like we had a law instead of like 40 years to declassify something, 10 years to publish everything that happened to the
10
president.
days.
I'll pay whatever it takes to make that
I
happen.
literally will.
I'm with you on that.
I'll get a third job.
We'll get
Come
time
on.
machine
Yeah.
technology. We'll go back,
Yep.
install a camera and microphone inside the Oval Office the entire time.
Would pay so much for that.
This last one
call
is
that
is
a
is a is a story with two. It has two names here. It's got a story, and then it implicates another 6 deaths afterwards.
Cool.
So Kevin Ives
Rad.
and Don
All about the
Henry,
murders.
known as quote unquote the boys on the track case. Reports say the boys may have
It's like
stumbled
Batman.
upon the Mena, Arkansas airport drug operation, a controversial case. The initial report of death said due to falling asleep on railroad tracks. Later reports claim the two boys had been slain before being placed on the railroad tracks.
Okay.
Many linked to the case died before testimony could come before a grand jury. So the story originally was that these people just laid down on railroad tracks, fell asleep, and then were murdered by a train. And then the autopsy was like, hey, yeah, there's a kind of a bullet-shaped hole in the back of their head. Like, it's like, maybe
I
something
don't know.
happened here.
Trains are pretty unpredictable.
Yeah.
You
Who
don't
knows
know.
what could have
They
been
go
sticking
so
out of the...
fast,
They have like
yeah.
2 poles just sticking out of the train, and they were
Yeah.
sitting up, not laying down, and just went right through there.
You
No.
never know about those bullet holes.
But I've got the residual things here as well. Keith Coney as a
What
person.
about gunpowder?
So the next 6 are people who had information on this exact case, the boys on the track case. People who had direct information about it. Keith Coney died when his motorcycle slammed into the back of a truck. Keith McMaskill, that's a fucked up name, died stabbed 113 times. 113 times.
That sounds excessive even for me.
Now, if I was on Criminal
Jesus
Minds, I would say
Christ.
that had an emotional component.
Emotion. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes.
That's almost more than
The
amount-
unsub was emotionally compromised.
That's almost more than I stabbed my TV dinner with my fork the other day.
Gregory Collins died from a gunshot wound in January of the next year. Jeff Rhodes was shot, mutilated, and found burned in a trash dump in April of that year. James Milan is found decapitated.
really cool.
However, the coroner ruled his death was due to natural causes.
You get decapitated.
I was naturally
causes.
decapitated. And finally, Richard Winters, a suspect in the Ives Henry deaths. He was killed in a setup robbery in July. Meaning they staged a robbery to murder him in broad daylight.
Just like Lane gets his dick
So it's
cut
like,
off.
no,
I think
like I
it's
said,
important to
normal
address
stuff
that.
didn't
Exactly.
happen.
This is
Yeah.
all for fun.
This is more about us uncovering
Yeah.
something that's interesting.
It's
This is
interesting.
not saying
Investigative.
This is not-
like journalism.
Yeah, this is not saying that we should.
This is not.
We're not chanting lock her up. We're not chanting lock her up.
But we are chanting that there's a lot of people that have been on the public eye that long that don't have a body count in the hundreds.
Yeah. When you get to the 390 mark of people related to you somehow that have information on you dying of a sudden, unexpected death,
Yeah.
something's going on with at
Maybe
least 20
something's going
of
on,
those.
yeah.
Oh, fishy.
Yeah.
There's something a little.
Once again,
Yeah.
we have no confirmation of any of this
No
information.
evidence.
There is no
This is
evidence
just
to
fun.
prove that Hillary or Bill Clinton are implicated in
Also,
any
I
way.
want to point out that I'm not
But it might have
suicidal,
happened.
and if I shoot myself,
Yes,
twice in the
yes,
back of the
exactly.
head-
Yeah, I'm
It
all
was
Now
Hillary
that we
Clinton.
have mentioned this on the internet, if
Yeah.
any of us die in the next 6 weeks, this is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
None of us are going to kill ourselves.
All right, this might be a good time to throw this over to John. I'm going to have him explain the rules because this is John's brainchild. Fuck you, John.
Yeah. All right, so
Have
the
him
game is
explain the rules.
called Slightly Improvised, and Eric's gonna
Oh
participate.
God, I'm so scared.
It's fun. It's fun. Okay, Eric.
I know y'all have my back, but I'm
Remember,
still very
Eric
scared.
drew
you're
a
the
card.
expert.
Yeah, remember you're the expert. Eric drew a card.
Oh, I'm going first.
You're going home.
You're the only one
Yeah,
going
yeah.
for this segment. Each episode, it's one person does this.
Yeah, you're victim.
Oh.
So Eric drew a card. He had 5 minutes to prepare to tell us about a topic.
Hey,
And
to
he
be
has
fair,
to-
though, each of us has done it once without really getting to see it done before.
You
Yeah.
had 30 seconds more than anyone but me.
Okay, guys, let's get into the game.
Yes.
So he had 5 minutes to prepare. He's going to give us a 10-minute presentation.
Based on
and
notes taken on a single business card.
His topic this week is he's going to tell us about generationships. So without much further ado, Eric, why don't you let us know what a generationship is and what we need to know about it?
You've 10 minutes.
So a generationship is the idea is somewhat of an arc, if you would,
Okay.
where you could carry multiple generations to somewhere else, where you could hopefully successfully colonize a planet.
Got it.
So these are
So-
spaceships.
Yes,
Space
yeah, yeah,
cruise
yeah.
ships is what
Okay.
I'm envisioning.
Ooh.
Basically, yeah.
Do they have
But
pools?
there's a that's a factor of it is you reach this limitation where the spaceship can only be so big for it to travel so fast. So if you want to get to certain certain parts of the universe, if you will,
We have to be able to travel like light speed and stuff, right?
you have to think about the
Yeah.
limitation factor of
Yeah.
how many people are on this and how big is this ship.
Is there any estimations that you saw, or of where our kind of tipping point is, where we might be
For
able to...
me, every estimation I saw is that we're all fucked.
Oh, okay.
There's no way of actually making this happen, because for me it's okay, you have to foster and breed many different generations on this ship.
Yeah.
But how do you do that with a limited space, and how do you feed these people? How do you farm for them and whatnot?
Okay.
How do you create jobs for them? Like there's a lot of
How do they help
Jobs,
the economy on
yeah.
their
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But it gets to a point where you can only there's this breaking point where you can only have the ship be so big and comfortably handle all these sorts of things and all these sorts of people.
Okay.
So it reaches this limitation point of you can only have the ship be so big while also.
But how many people do you really need to have, like,
A generation.
genetic...
How
yeah.
far are you
Well,
going? now?
I mean,
Yeah, I guess
think
that's
about
true.
how many
Like,
generations you're gonna
generations
go.
you need.
Like,
Exactly.
if you need 5 generations, like 20,000 people might not even do it.
Yeah.
If you need 2 generations, heck, 8,000 people
and
can do
no
it.
offense, but if people are repopulating more than you can control it, what are you going to do about that? If
It would
people
be
are
a
having
very
sex
Whoa, no,
all the
that
time,
would be a
are you gonna
controlled
control-
environment. Yeah,
are you
yeah,
gonna
it-
control the population
There's
growth
even-
and whatnot. But then that kind of stems the question of like Big Brother, how much are you going to intervene and whatnot? How
There's
much
even
you're going
a-
to have AI interfere? how
Oh,
much you're
true,
gonna, like-
true.
Yeah.
I was gonna say there's even like a
I
sci-fi show
got
that kind of
super, super stoked about this topic because
Yeah.
I just wanted to ramble, but then I all of a sudden thought about like the actual ramifications of how is this shit going to happen? And I was like, oh shit, okay, well,
It would be very wild.
In my view, you say generation ships. I think of the latest movie I've seen, which is what Travelers with Passengers. Yeah, with
With,
Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. Is that kind of what
Oh,
you
man.
have in mind as far as a generation ship?
Have you seen
I
the movie?
have not seen the movie, so I have no idea.
I mean, that's
It's
probably
not-
the purest distillation of what it. I mean, actually, it's really not.
It's
actually,
not at all because they.
It's a
freeze the
hibernation
people.
ship,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
a hibernation ship.
Okay.
Their idea in
generation
that
ship is saying like
you live on the ship
My
with
thing
the
is, how do
resources
you-
on the ship.
How do you care for and produce food and nutrition for all these people?
It's essentially
when
a space
literally
station times,
just
like-
this shit
I don't
is
know,
all you
some
have.
crazy
Yeah. Well,
fucking
'cause
robot.
But like I was saying, you can only build it to a certain size.
Yeah,
Either
to where
length
can
or
travel.
girth, like you're gonna
Yeah.
run into a limit at some point. Yeah, I know. I feel you.
Well, I think a lot of people are saying with a generation ship, you would build it in space because the hardest thing to do would be escape Earth's atmosphere.
But then where are you going?
Yeah. Whatever.
Do you have a destination, or are you just
Potentially
literally
not.
Just
Pot-
going
no,
somewhere?
Potentially
Usually-
it's exploratory.
No,
No,
I
usually-
thought about it.
usually the
Whereas
theory-
you're
Usually
literally
it's
just going somewhere
Earth's
and
fucked. We need to find something else.
Usually the
We'll
theory is you
figure it
build
out
like
when
a
we get
1,000
there.
of these. And
Yeah.
you,
The Hubble
you shoot
found
them
a
at your
couple.
Best
1,000
guesses.
guesses.
Yeah.
Let's gun for the
okay.
best.
Okay.
Okay.
So that as generations go on, if they can keep the ship moving, they can eventually get to a hospitable planet.
And if
makes
that
sense.
planet turns out not to be hospitable, they're fucked.
But then how do you? You can only pack so much fuel. What do you do when you get to a point where you have no more
Yeah.
fuel?
Space
and where do you
sails.
get it?
Yeah, exactly. Like what's the movie?
Nuclear explosions.
Oh, what was the?
There's a bunch of weird ways to do it. but-
Nuclear explosions was a big
fission.
one.
Fission, right? That was saying fission might be able to.
No, they're saying literally bombs.
That you set off
put
a
it
bomb
off behind
and
it,
it
and it propels
pushes
it
you.
forward.
Oh,
Yeah, very fast.
okay.
Yeah.
But how would that not EMP your entire system? You'd be fucked.
You would have to have,
Exactly.
like,
and then
a
once
way around
that's the
it,
other thing
yeah.
is once you've committed to a completely almost 100% electronic way of living.
Future,
if you
yeah,
will.
it's really that's what it
Future,
is, yeah.
Like, what do you do when something shuts that all down? If you really needed to, you could load up a couple generations of whatever bloodline you have and ship them
So
to.
as far as how many generations,
I guess
right?
wherever you
Like
wanna
how
go.
many people are initially loaded? What's
But
your idea?
That
of
is that is also a huge question
That's
to
the-
me. Is how many?
How many the
Because
ship can
you're only
handle.
building a ship to be so big,
Yeah.
especially if you're going.
What do you think, like
to
400
interstate
families?
travel.
So they have to find a
think less than
balance.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you
than
guys
that.
are thinking families generation. You have the generations on the ship. You load with like
Yeah.
10,000 single people.
20-year-olds.
Yeah,
Just a bunch of 20-year-olds.
and they all group off and have sex.
But
with
And then
people.
when they
But
hit
you-
50,
I don't mean
they
to
all get
interrupt
pregnant at the same
and their
time.
kids
Eric's
have
saying,
And they
but
can
how,
just raise
how shitty
one
would that
age group
be?
at a time every 30 years.
If you were thrown on a generation ship and then all of a sudden you're like
you're
the
not throwing, you
last,
volunteer.
you volunteer and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna find like some great person, you know, and we're gonna have a great time, and then all of a sudden it ends up you're the last one to find a mate, and you're like, oh fuck that
At least
guy.
you're doing something, man. Like on Earth, what value am I? At least you're like on a you're like trying to advance humanity.
I like the idea of it, but I don't think, in the sense of the mindset that we all have currently, I don't think it would work.
A generation ship.
No.
Yeah, like cohabitating.
Kind of doubling
for the
back
benefit
to
of
like
society.
the original idea.
It would realistically have to be like a minor like group of probably like scientists and shit that they would send. They would send like
Yeah.
3
And you
ships.
think that's gonna happen?
Yeah. No.
I
Well,
feel
the
like
problem-
everyone
the
on the
problem is
ship
that
would have
once-
to have a job.
They would, but also
I
once you
also
get
thought
going,
about that. Is like
it's not
how-
like they can turn around. So they,
Right.
That's,
Bye,
all,
guys.
that's how I kind
Try
of double
again
back
next
to
time.
fuel. Is once you realize that you're out of fuel, what do?
well, they either make it work or they die. Like,
At that point,
that's
you
the
gotta
beauty
have
of
an engineer.
generation
See,
ships.
that's the problem. Is
Yeah.
you gotta have an engineer, tons of scientists, and
So-
multiple teams
So
of
are
engineers.
you
Solar
are you
sails.
gonna let AI run this ship, or are you gonna have an entire team of fucking
I feel like
engineers? that
AI
ship?
makes the
both.
most sense.
I'd say both.
Combination. Yeah.
But then when
AI
are you
to
gonna
track
draw
when
the
you're gonna-
line on the AI?
I would
Are
just
you
say
gonna
AI
limit it?
for knowing when you're going to need to do things as far as resources.
I don't know.
Like for
I
knowing
think-
when fuel is getting to a point where we need to shift fuel supplies, or for knowing when our food supply is low and we need to increase food production.
I bet we can't calculate the fuel before we left Earth. Like,
Oh
For
yeah,
sure,
but
for sure.
AI would probably
Yeah.
be doing that.
Yeah,
Like,
But
yeah.
what's the movie you and John Marie showed me, Nick? Wall-E. Wall-E, that shit had an AI running the entire
ship.
show.
Yeah,
And
true.
then everybody got fat,
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but it
yeah,
didn't work for
and Eve
shit.
had to come in and save the day, and Wally planted a tree. I know.
I like that the whole idea. I like that the whole idea with that though, when like the reason it got benched for like 12 years, that movie, like it got wrote in the 90s and didn't get released until like way later. And the reason it took so long to get released was because they were like, basically the moral of the story is it's kind of like Idiocracy, where it's like, hey, look how crazy, weird this and stupid this society is. It's like, oh wait, we kind of
But
live
it's
in it.
really
We
not.
kind of
Yeah.
live in it.
Yeah,
Wally
yeah,
was the
yeah.
same thing. It was like, oh, look at all these lazy fat fucks who can't walk places, and they're like trying to say like, people drive cars and use trains, so
Yeah.
they're lazy and gonna get fat and big. Ha 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 ha.
They made
like
a
that's
Segway
like the whole
chair like
movie.
That. It was a thing.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. Well, that was 10 minutes. Thank you for that, Eric. That was
Yeah.
pretty
That's
fun.
a good one.
I think we know about generation ships.
Generation ship. I think
That
I
was
feel
fun.
slightly
Did I
informed.
make it the whole 10 minutes?
Yeah. No. We're at like 12 now.
It goes by. It
Yeah.
goes
Hell
by
yeah.
quick.
It flies by. Yeah.
It flies by.
I was nervous the first time I did it, but all of a sudden I'm like,
I
oh
was
god,
so
I have like
nervous.
10 more
Yeah.
minutes of Terminator talk. We're good.
Yeah. We could keep going. You know.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that
I was
leaves
gonna say,
me,
I'm,
right? You
yeah.
both
Yeah.
talked about your segments. So I think I want to talk about the 3 Republican senators who sold a ridiculous amount of stocks after a closed-door meeting. So
In
this
the
is
millions.
in the millions.
Before releasing the numbers on all this
Before
stuff.
releasing this to the American public.
Even worse
right?
though, they came out and said it's not a big deal. Don't worry.
They did. So this was 3 Republican senators: Richard Burr,
Of course.
Kelly Loeffler, and Jim Inhofe.
Dianne Feinstein did the same thing.
Okay, Richard Burr.
There's a
Sold-
better argument for her thing, but she did the same thing.
She needs to go.
Richard Burr sold $1.7 million worth of stock. Kelly Loeffler sold $3.1 million, and for
Oh,
some
man.
reason it was incredibly hard to find out how much Jim Inhofe sold. So I don't have that, but they sold a bunch of stock after a closed-door meeting before the American public
Was
knew
notified.
about it.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'd like to point out is maybe something along the lines of organized crime,
Yeah.
because that's
Well,
kind
yeah.
of the vibe I get from
That's
that.
exactly what it is.
It's
I mean,
literally
that's
the
a
definition of
problem.
insider trading.
Yeah, it's 100%
Except
insider trading.
It's not illegal for Congress to insider trade.
Yep. Because who know?
So
Who
it's
knew
so
this?
decide.
They could say, they could always say who knew the market was going to
Well,
react
no,
in
it's
this
not
way
even
to
that.
our
It's not
information.
illegal for Congress to insider trade off knowledge from them being Congress people, because the people
Well, that's it, but,
the
like-
people who would pass that legislation is Congress.
Yeah.
And they make a lot of money from being able to insider trade.
Yep.
So it's not technically illegal, even though it's insider trading.
Another fantastic, case of why legality and morality are not the same thing.
Yeah, completely different boats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, shout out again to Tucker Carlson, because he ripped Senator Burr a new one on TV and basically said he was a traitor to the American people and he deserved to face criminal charges. So he got one thing right.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? Like, I would take the Tucker Carlson right as an opponent, honestly, because I think once everyone has committed to the fact that, hey,
I would
the
take
free
them as
market's
an ally more than bullshit
Well-
fucking
But-
crony capitalist Republicans.
No, absolutely. But if the left was like Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna,
Yeah.
Andrew Yang, and all kind of a mishmash of different versions of that, and the right was all people like Tucker and I actually don't even know if there's any congressmen who really vote the way that Tucker talks. He's like a unique popular.
There
Mitt
isn't.
Romney is really the only close one.
And
but
even he's not
yeah,
very
he's just
populist.
religious. It's just religious.
And he somewhat cares about
Human beings. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there will be a populist streak, because Donald Trump's the populist streak.
It
of the
is.
right wing.
Yeah.
He's just too incompetent to
I
actually do
hate to
things.
say you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. He's just too incompetent to actually
Yeah.
accomplish his goals.
And all the
But-
people that and all
but there will be other
And-
right-wing congressmen who come out populist.
And Rising's good at pointing this out, but every Republican that won either a new seat or won a governorship or a statewide race in the last election was a pro-Trump Republican.
Yeah.
Anyone that tried to run the like, I'm a never Trumper, but I'm still a Republican, but I support you, but I
Or even though, like,
trying
I
to
try
walk
to
the fence.
criticize Trump
Yeah.
sometimes. Those
They
people
they
too.
lost,
Yeah.
and they lost their seats. Mia
In a big
Love
way.
lost her seat. Like all like the people, like it's polarizing the party, and people are winning on a populist streak.
I think this election's up to Trump to lose. If he doesn't lose, you're going to see a lot of those left-wing populists run in 2024.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even if he does lose, I think you would see a primary opponent to Joe Biden, and you would see a right-wing populist try to retake that throne. In
Oh,
2024.
absolutely.
For sure.
Well, Biden says he's only going to run 4 years, so there'll be another primary for the Democrats in 4
They'll
years.
probably
if he
try to
wins.
coronate someone. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that's enough time for us today. McLean, you want to send us out?
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening, guys. One thing we'd like to say is.
Oh, we also have a chaser after this.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we
So
do have a
don't
chaser.
Log out.
We really are too dumb to understand search engine optimization. So please share with a friend. Check us out on Twitter, SI_podcast, and Instagram, slightly_informed. Stay tuned. This chaser is super funny. It's definitely worth a listen.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you later.
Thanks for having me
Later.
as a guest. Yeah.
Okay, here I go.
Whoa, Gus,
What's up?
where you going?
I figured I'd go out to the bars and be with all my friends and drink a lot.
Is that, such a good idea with the coronavirus stuff? Do you think?
Yeah, I think I will go and I'll be around my friends and I'll drink and touch them all.
Right, but, they canceled, like, tours and gatherings of large people. Why would you choose to go to a bar?
Well, because I'm not sick, I'm young and healthy, so I'm not gonna get sick.
Right,
so.
but, like, sorry, I don't want to live your life for you, but, or tell you what to do, but, like, scientists are saying it's just old people will die, weak immune system people.
Ew, scientists. There's probably only a few scientists that are saying it's a bad idea to go.
Like, all of them, and doctors, and the government.
Dude, let's go to Atlanta. Do you want to fly to Atlanta? Let's go there.
Do you want to fly?
Let's fly. I
you
saw
see
a ticket. It was only $25 today.
Did you see the photos of O'Hare? It was like people were packed like sardines, dude.
Usually I spend $25 on Postmates. We can go to Atlanta.
No, I know, but it's so dangerous.
I'm gonna
Listen,
go
dude,
home and save my grandparents.
I like going out, I like doing those things, but if you go out, you have the potential to spread it and to pretty much directly kill people.
No, but I stayed in yesterday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. though, so I already quarantined.
You should see people from Italy saying, don't go out and make the mistakes we did just 2 weeks ago.
Hey, look at me! I'm from Italy.
You
I'm
can't do
fucking
that.
Sick.
You can't do that.
That's the thing though, Eddie. I would stay in, but we're Americans. We don't let anything get us down.
Dude, I know, like, that's a good attitude if there's like a terrorist attack, but this is a virus.
I can't even see the virus though. How do I even know it's real?
I don't even know.
Check this out. I don't see anything
Are you
anywhere.
looking for the virus?
Hello?
You need like a microscope.
Okay, I'll hear you out. Why shouldn't I go out?
Did you not listen to anything I said that entire time?
Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
No! Did you hear the best part though? He said he's not the only penis man.
Florida man arrested for pulling a gun on escort. She was touching everything in my house but my dick.